Oh, there we go.
No, I don't see.
You ready?
I'm ready.
All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another one of these kind of weekly Wednesday live streams now. And I am joined by my soon-to-be husband, Joshua.
Hello.
And today we're going to be doing another environment Ghibli study. I had a lot of fun with the one from last week, this daytime one up here. Oh, why can I not? Is that my eraser? Oh, okay, yeah. This one here. And we're going to then take it into nighttime now and do a nighttime study. So I'm going to try to use, once again, some of the new techniques I've been learning the past few weeks here with selection tool, using brushes to get texture, and we're going to see if we can create this environment in roughly 2 hours. We'll see how it goes. Environments are very new for me, so we're going to just see how it goes. But as always, if you have any questions during the stream, we'll do our best to answer them. And if you could just put @vonnart so that Josh knows it's a question, and we will, like I said, do our best to answer it. Hi, Felix. Hello. One Art Guy. Hello. Antonio's from Massachusetts. Can't wait for this video. Ghibli is the kind of world I dream to live in. Yeah.
Same.
And if I'm ever to make more environments for my own stories and characters, I definitely want them to have the kind of the look and appeal of Ghibli. So yeah. And I should mention before we start this, if you guys want to join alongside me, I put a Photoshop file on a Dropbox link that is in the description, and you can go ahead and paint alongside with me. And then if you are a Patreon backer, you can post it in Discord, the exclusive one that we have for patrons, by the end of the stream, and I will pull yours up and see what you did and kind of give you feedback on it. So I know that these might be kind of challenging, so this is probably not the challenge that everyone would want to do. Eventually I'll do simpler ones, like we'll do just like a hand or like a study of just a sitting object or something. These are definitely more layered, and there's definitely more to it. And the brush set that I'll be working with once again are the Devon L. Kurtz, and we will link that in the description after the stream. I know they're on the last one. I forgot to put it in the description of this one before we started, but those are the brushes we'll be using. And yeah, we'll see if we can knock this one out. Oh yeah, I should also mention, well, no, we'll get into that as we start doing this. But we'll give it people maybe another minute or two to join in, and yeah, we'll let people kind of see if they want to join. Felix is already saying no color picking this time. You learned so much more. I agree. I know. Actually, I did do some of, well, no, I actually picked these from the reference. Never mind, I cheated.
So you already have the bubbles ready to go.
I think it's just because I'm still trying to learn digital and get back to doing digital and then try to learn environments. I'm really not super focused on making color study, but I know you're gonna say yeah, but you should do it anyways, and I agree. But today this one's gonna be a little more tricky because we have a building in the scene, whereas last week it was essentially just two hills at different angles. For this one, we're definitely working with a lot more, and I'm definitely going to be experimenting with a lot more brushes here. So we'll see if we can make this happen.
Dria's here. Hello, Dria.
Hi, Dria.
Antonio says it's funny how Miyazaki makes these wonderlust, picturesque landscapes, and then in person, he's the super stressed out guy who's way too hard on himself.
Yeah, a grumpy old man, as he likes to call himself. Yeah, I love Miyazaki. He's got the work ethic that I guess some would say is bad as an influence. Others would say is inspiring. I'm definitely more on the inspiring side, but maybe not as to the extent that he works or he's ignoring family and friend time. But yeah. Okay, you ready, Josh?
I'm ready. I love these.
We'll see how it goes. I'm definitely curious. I'm gonna try doing the thing again where I stay zoomed out for most of the live stream so that I'm not focusing on details too soon. It's definitely a struggle of mine to kind of zoom in and start rendering things, and then when I zoom out, realize I just spent an hour doing like a fingernail. So I'm gonna try my best to stay zoomed out for this one again. So before I started the stream, I kind of did a quick demo just so I could get a little familiar with what I might do on the stream. And something that I noticed is doing environments, I start to section them out from furthest away to closest to the viewer. And I'm kind of going to be doing the same order of operations here, where, okay, we know that the sky will be the backdrop, the farthest thing in the first thing that we touch upon. And then the moon would be second because it's right on the sky. And then third, we'll go into these bushes here. Then we'll do some of the grass in the foreground. And then we'll start on the house. So it's like I'm breaking things up in different layers to make it easier on myself to make the process more efficient. And once again, this goes against what I used to learn with digital painting, where it's very much you treat it like a painting and it's all on like one layer essentially, which this is something that I'm trying to unlearn and then relearn these new methods of doing digital. So let's see how it goes. But yeah, first up, let's do the sky. And actually, I might just fill in the whole background here with this blue color. So I can mask it out and then have this as our base for everything to kind of sit upon.
Felix says I maybe wanted to try to do one in, is you say like gouache? The paint?
Oh yeah, gouache.
Gouache? Oh my gosh. But I just woke up from a nap, so that's not happening.
I would eventually like to try doing like a gouache study. Like once I feel more comfortable with the process of how to create environments, I feel like a lot of that could translate over into traditional. So I'm right there with you. I would love to try a gouache study of like a Ghibli environment someday. Okay. Oop. Now we have our background set. I'm going to make a new layer. Actually, I probably could even just mask out this current one. So basically you just lock out the layer that we're painting on with the checkerboard on the top of the layer menu. And what I'm going to be looking for is the blue kind of glow behind the moon. So I'm going to stick with this brush. Got a little bit of a texture on it. I'm going to paint around it. Something else I was thinking I might do for future streams is I might actually ditch the Cintiq for a tablet drawing station, because that's how I used to draw a lot. And I think this Cintiq's kind of old and it has such a reflective glass on it that on streams it's very difficult sometimes for me to see like what the color accuracy is compared to what I'm actually doing. I almost pulled it out this morning and tried to hook up my bamboo. Was it the Wacom? But I decided to stick with the Cintiq for today, and we'll see how we go here.
Archidios says, made it to the live. Welcome. I'm gonna take my sketchbook out and sketch along.
Hey. It was funny because I was talking, actually, while I'm telling the story, I'm going to now make the moon. I'm going to just use a circle brush and essentially just stamp it on and then fill in little details there. Funny, I actually made a moon brush a long time ago. Oop. I grabbed that color. But I'm going to actually try painting. Once again, you can just lock it on the top. And I'm going to even choose this weird looking flower brush in the Devon pack. So I was going to say, oh no, I forgot what I was going to talk about. What was the question that was
you're talking about your brushes, and then you're talking about you have your own moon brush.
No, before that.
Oh shoot. I can't remember before that.
Terrible habit of doing. Well, if I remember,
it'll come back to you. Vigilante is sitting on a train right now.
Oh,
that's
where are you going?
Nice.
And you're able to watch a stream?
Get in the 21st century, Tim. We're connected everywhere we go. Drea says, I feel like color picking helps you understand how colors play together. A color may look warm in a cool room, in a cool comp, but actually it is still cool. It helped me learn how surrounding colors trick the eyes.
I mean, yeah, I do agree with Felix for the most part, though. I think it is better in anything that you do not to color pick. But since I'm doing these studies not only in a subject matter that I'm not familiar with, but also doing them live on a Twitch stream, I'm going to try to focus on one discipline at a time. And today is definitely just focus on getting the environment looking like an environment. How about this, Felix? If I do another environment next week, I won't color pick on this study. Then I should be a little more competent with the brushes that I'm using and making it look, hopefully, like the reference that I'll be choosing next week.
The Felix challenge.
The Felix challenge. So as I move into... Actually, should I do the stars first? I guess I could do the stars first. And then I'm going to label all these layers so that if you are one of my Patreon backers, I'm going to send this Photoshop file with both the daytime and the nighttime scene. And then you can go ahead and check out my different layers and what you think I did terribly on them, or what could be improved on, or what might intrigue you to be like, oh, that's how he did this, or that's how that layer looks. For the stars, I'm just going to use a circle brush. I'm sure there's a brush that I could easily just, wipe down. I think I even had one back when I worked with CG Cookie, but I'm just going to go ahead and paint them in. There's really not that many of them. There's still small joys in painting, and I think adding stars in is...
Felix says maybe a little bit if you actually look at where the color falls, but eventually you just pick it up, or eventually you just pick it and don't think about what that color is.
Yeah. I think that's where doing studies without color picking actually is more beneficial.
Oh, because you get more like intentional with why you're picking a color?
1,000,000%. Yep.
Okay.
I feel like there's a difference between doing studies where you're just copy pasting and you're not doing a lot of learning, or you're not actively aware of what you're doing. And I'm not trying to have this be that for me, but I think I'm actively learning about like brushes and adding texture. But for me, this isn't meant to be a color practice study, but I know Felix would love to see it. So next week, I'll challenge myself. I'll do an environment and color study at the same time. Okay, so that's the moon and stars. So now I'm going to switch to these bushes back here, which are here, and then a little bit above the chimney. And Devin had this amazing brush. Let me see if I can find it again. It was the tree blocking brush. So this one I think is incredible. So I'll show it green first so you can kind of see it. You see the texture and how it creates this like spongy edge on the top, and then it creates a faded gradient on the bottom. And the reason that this is so great is like, okay, let me fill in the space here, and then I'll mask it out and paint it, and then you'll be able to see why I like this brush so much. And it has color variation. On top of already being a great like shapular brush, it's also got a color variation setting in the brush settings that allows it to create slightly different hue and value on whatever color you originally picked. And especially for environments, having just those minute little differences can really help in the realism and the believability of whatever you're painting.
Vigilante asked if I cut my hair. I have. It's getting a little too long. We had a wedding we went to last weekend too, so I wanted to be all fresh for the wedding. Let's see, Antonio says, art style and story aside, the thing I love most about Miyazaki's worlds is that they feel lived in. Like, he remembers to show all the wear and tear, but it only boosts the beauty of it all.
Yeah, totally agree to that.
I mean, I love this house. How it's all overgrown.
Right, this is actually a still from Kiki. Okay, so now we are going to focus on that lighter bush that's in front of these darker trees. I chose dark now. Yeah, maybe there. So the way that we had created is first you'd really pump up the value darker behind the lighter bush. And then you're going to use that same brush and essentially just push it right on top. And that's what will create that super nice contrast. And that's why that bush stands out so much.
Sean's here.
Sean Price?
Sean Price is here.
Hey, Sean Price.
Sean says, good to see you boys again. Hope you're doing well. Doing that study with you really helped, and I plan on doing one once a week to really lock in a digital process. Love you both.
Hey, so Sean Price is one of my closest friends. He was here for this past weekend. Like Josh said, we had a weekend or a wedding, and then we went to Ren Fair. And then yesterday, what was it, yesterday? 2 days ago? We were able to just kind of sit in the gazebo outside and just talk about art. And Sean wanted to get better with his process, so he challenged himself by doing an hour study. Wait, what am I doing? There we go. And it's something that him and I have talked about with digital. It's a new way of working, and it's a different mindset. And kind of like what you're seeing today, it's so different than what I was taught that we do kind of have to like relearn it. So I hope for you, Sean, you're able to find a process that you really like and you can stick with it. And I'm going to try to do my best to do the same. Yeah, look how that can capture the moonlight on of these trees and still capture that texture just in a single brush.
So weird.
Right?
Do you think the house or the tree line will be harder for you?
Oh, house. Yeah.
House? Okay.
I'm like dreading the house actually secretly. What's weird too about working with these brushes is they don't really have much of an opacity give to them. So essentially, wherever you put it down, it's going to be that color and pretty definitively color, which is something I am definitely.
Antonio says, also, I have no idea how you're able to get such detailed filigree with your art. I try to do the same thing, and it's likely my body overheats from trying to process all the information.
What's weird is I actually can do that faster than I could make like a spit paint environment like this. That's just a lot of patience. And then you get to a point. I was recording a video this morning. The audio kept messing up, but part of that video I was talking about how you get to a point where you just autopilot, because it was a drawing that had a lot of trees where it was kind of drawing the same thing on each tree, and I just had to repeat it like 15 times. And I talked about how for me it's kind of a fun stage to be in, because then you don't have to think as much. You can put on like a series on the background, you can watch some fun crime docs, whatever it is that you're into, and then still feel like you're getting a lot done. And I feel like with the filigree and kind of the super detail, a lot of that is just knowing the like golden ratio spiral, and then knowing where to break off into smaller filigree sections and just doing that on repeat. So it's weirdly relaxing for me. You just got to maybe study doing a bit more of the shapes of the filigree, and then eventually you'll just get it. One day it'll just hit. You'll be like, oh, okay, now I get it.
Tim does like his filigree.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, thank you, Vigilante. The hair, I like growing it out, but it was time to cut it short. I'm not getting younger, so I feel like when it grows out, it kind of just, it goes kind of crazy, honestly, now.
Mm-hmm. I still think it looks good.
It works. It doesn't. It's weird. It's like it's not like a hairline's change, but it just doesn't sit the same as it did when I was a wee 20-year-old boy. Oh, Amy's here. Hello, Amy.
Hey, Amy.
Have you ever watched Drawfee? It's a great drawing channel on YouTube.
I don't think I have, no.
I'm trying to think if I've had their stuff recommended.
I can't say I have, no. I'll have to check it out though. No, I was watching a few environment ones for last week, and it was very helpful. Yeah, if you have any good videos where you're like, oh, this is a great one to watch if you're trying to learn environments, I will definitely watch it. Just adding a little now texture to the edge here. I'm essentially grabbing same brush used for, oh, will it not let me use that brush as an eraser? Hold on. Oh yeah, so if in your menu, if it has this little paintbrush icon next to it, at least from my knowledge, it won't let you use it as an eraser, which is very weird. So I guess I'll just use this. Something to break up the edge.
Oh, Vigilante, I'm on my way home from our summer cabin. Oh, that's right. And the internet connection is actually super bad in trains here, so I'm surprised how well this is going.
I'm surprised you're able to do it at all.
Yeah, I feel like I don't think I've ever been on a train that has Wi-Fi. I'm trying to think of the Amtrak. Maybe the Amtrak does now. Not taking that in a while, but well, I hope you had a nice time at your summer cabin though. Because I think last week were you there already, or were you actually heading there? Can't remember. Thankfully, our air quality is better than last week, so no more smoke, and we're actually getting rain now, so this has been really nice.
That's right.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I'm just going to add on a little spot of texture in a few more places, and then we're going to move on to the grass.
Felix says, I don't know, the brushes aren't working for me this time. The scatter and color variation is way too much. Our internet went out, and it's kind of amazing how much I get done when the only thing I have is an audiobook and working on a new painting.
Mm-hmm. That was all just Felix?
Yeah. Yeah,
I mean,
not sure
yeah.
what the brushes. Are the brushes doing okay for you?
Yeah. I would say actually the worst part for me is the glare is so intense that I have to like really look close at it to see if the color is right. And then I have OBS pulled in front of me so I can look at it here. Like this spot right here doesn't look black on my screen, but when I look at OBS, this looks like dark. I'll have to color match that a little bit. But anyways, we'll keep moving on. I feel like I'm spending too much time on these trees.
Oh wait, Sean said something though. Set it to clear in the drop-down brush settings. It's kind of a makeshift eraser. The settings are near the opacity and flow settings, and it should say normal at first.
Oh, to get the brush off, or where it's only brush only?
That's what I'm assuming, yeah.
It's weird to even have brushes with those settings built in. Okay, let's start adding our grass. I feel like this is a really fun part. If there's anything I've learned from last week about doing environments is that doing grass block-in is very fun and very satisfying. You can make essentially a field very, very quickly. Just get a little color variation.
So I remember you're teaching me a little bit the order. So will you save those flowers in the foreground for last then?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Exactly. If I zoom in for you guys, see how it just creates that nice textured blaze of grass, which is really nice. That's it. That's just one layer of grass, and we already got our grass done.
Wow.
Now, though, we're going to get into our trickier parts. So if I do this right, I should be trying to use the selection tool more. And because this is kind of new to me, I might have to do it a couple times. So first things first. Oh my god, what is it? Let me grab a back triangle roof. That one. And then, what was the brush that I wanted? Actually, I think this was also the grass brush that I liked it.
On the roof?
Actually, no, that was too much color variation. I feel like I was playing with the brush earlier that I... no, not that one. Maybe it was just... I think this is where I'll get way more confident with digital, is once I feel very confident with my brush selections. I can look at an area and be like, oh, this brush would be perfect. Then I think I'll have something. Oh, you know what? I think it was the correct. Then for the edge of the roof where it's leaning in the direction of the moon, it's just capturing it on that edge. No, I think it was two. It is kind of crazy doing these streams where I'm kind of learning as I go on the stream as well. Then even I have to like look at like, okay, what brushes do I have? What makes, or what gives it the most texture that I'm looking for? And eventually, the goal is to get to the point where I'll know exactly, oh, that brush would look perfect here.
You have so many brushes to work with too.
Devin's spec had so many in them. This is too many. I just want to find the best ones. But I don't know if I need necessarily 20 of them. What the heck? Oh, I see. Oh yeah, this was the brush. Okay, so one of the tree blocking brushes, I like the texture it gives because it's slightly irregular and it has that kind of same visual as the roof here. I just see. Hold on.
Antonio says, I'm making this character who's the imperial prince of my world. He has horns that look like clay or golden marble at the base, and it morphs into physical light in the form of vine filigree.
What the what? Say that again?
So the character's an imperial prince of the world. He
Okay.
has horns that look like clay or golden marble at the base, and it morphs into physical light in the form of vine filigree.
Weird. Yeah, that sounds very intriguing. I'm curious to see what that looks like.
Oh, see, I feel like I need to see it. I like that, the vine filigree. Shit, that's where you're getting the filigree, and then you need to figure out.
Mm-hmm. Ew. Sometimes, you know what? I'm gonna go back to my own brushes that I made a long, long time ago. I'm like, I know a brush that will kind of give me the job I want, and it's trustworthy. Some of these new ones, I'm like, what the heck settings do you have on you?
It's like when you make a brush, there's settings. The things change in the settings when you change the brush. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, so let me show you. Actually, I can open it up for you. Those are not the brush settings. Okay, so to give a very slight brief rundown of the brush settings. Oh, thank you, Decaying Angel 666 for subscribing.
Hmm.
You know, it was weird that I looked up right at the right time because I definitely did not hear that ping. I might have to double check my settings for that. Anyways, these are the brush settings for every brush. Normally, you'll always see either shape dynamics or transfer turned on. So essentially, shape dynamics is, let's say I wanted the brush to be really small, and the harder you push down, the bigger the brush will get. That's shape dynamic. Usually I like mine actually pretty far up. The other big one is transfer, and it's the same idea where the harder you push down, but instead of the brush getting bigger, you'll get more of, so like we have the color blue selected right now, you'll get more of the blue selected and pushed into canvas.
Oh.
Where if you draw really lightly, you'll get like a very light opacity on the actual screen. But then you can get even more crazy. So then like if you do scattering, you literally can grab, see how it like scatters the brush?
Weird.
So it's essentially it takes the brush that you have and then it pushes it up and down so that it creates more of this like crazy texture appearance, which can be actually really nice. Like even that's what I should do on these streams. I should create brushes because even right now I'm like, that's the roof texture that I need. But before, see how it was too sharp on the edge?
Yeah.
But if we scatter it a bit, it kind of gives that mossy roof texture that's in this picture. I'm not going to do texture. Texture is like, you can add images, then invert on your thing, but I'm not going to play with that today.
Hmm.
But yeah, those are probably the 3 big ones that I see the most often. So let's see if that brush actually works. So now here's our new brush. See how it has like more texture on it? I kind of like. Actually, low key, I might just save this brush.
Yeah, that's nice. Because I feel like even with Devin's brushes, you probably can edit them to be more how you'd like them to be.
Oh, you definitely can, yeah.
Or like,
I mean,
I
I would
guess,
feel bad.
well, I guess more for like the touch settings, I guess, with how you feel like you work better.
Mm-hmm. Do something a little crazy. I might take grass brush again. Actually, maybe I'll stick with this brush. No, I think the grass brush would be better for this. So the roof has just a little bit of fringe that sticks up. Then I know, because I've worked with it now so much, that I could use one of these grass brushes and literally just like zoom on the top. Nope, too congested. Grab one word. And then for some of these, kind of like what you were saying, so I like the look of this, but I don't want color dynamics on. So essentially, color dynamics will, like if you choose a blue color, it'll choose slightly different hues and values of that same blue and saturation actually, and it'll jitter it, which I don't want. I want the same blue all the way across. The reference is pretty much the same blue. Like that.
Oh.
Then
I'm trying to work with the stream delay.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
I'll see it in a second though. Yeah, Drea says it's been a while since I used Photoshop. I didn't know the eraser didn't work like that. Yeah, I feel like when I watched him, there's so many settings in this thing. I feel like if you just click one setting,
Eh,
all of a sudden everything's messed up for you.
you do have to be kind of careful. I'm gonna try these other new brushes. Then I'm gonna create the little triangle part. So this part here inside of that window, or on that top floor above the awning. Actually, this is where probably a little color variation would be nice. Let me go ahead, add my color dynamics. See how much. Yeah, that looks pretty good.
Jonathan's here. Hello, Jonathan.
Liddell?
Says, yep, Schladel.
Hey,
The only
Liddell.
Jonathan.
The only Jonathan.
Dreamy.
Oh, for the scene.
Yeah.
Ghibli always does it right.
I mean, speaking of though, it's such a gentle little patter of rain outside right now. It's very.
I can't even hear anything besides the stream and your voice.
I'm so sorry.
Oh, you're wearing headphones too. How are you hearing anything?
I actually have really good ears. I can hear through anything.
Oh my goodness.
I can't hear if I take one off. I'm so. Enkit says, so I have to ask, what did you learn from the previous Ghibli landscape study?
Oh my gosh. I learned grass brushes are awesome. They literally can make a field in like 10 seconds if. And then especially if you do like foreground brushes to create more of that texture, it literally it saves so much time. And I definitely was against using brushes for a while because I think when I went to school, mind you, this is back in like 2009 to 2011 essentially, and a lot of it was you painted like a traditional painter. So there definitely was kind of this taboo mentality around using brushes as like I feel like people saw it as a crutch, like, oh well, you're not a real artist, so you need brushes to help you get to that final result. And it's crazy that I was taught that way because that really sunk in with me for the longest time. I mean, literally until recently, or not recently, but definitely with me getting into it, I was like, well, I don't want to use brushes, but I feel like if I want to be more efficient with digital, why am I being Mr. like cranky elitist? Why do I have that mentality? And I realized it's because that's the way I was taught, and a lot of that was so ingrained in me. Um, so yes, I would say the biggest thing I learned from last week was that brushes can be amazing. They can be a huge time saver to create a result that literally probably won't look too much different than if you went in and individually did every single blade of grass. And actually, I just had a good conversation with a friend yesterday. I won't say who, but we got into a good discussion about, do people appreciate when they can tell time was put into an art piece? I'm actually kind of curious for anyone that's watching now. Do you appreciate knowing that a piece took an artist longer, like they poured more time into it? Or for you, is just the end result what matters? Because I've had a very hard time reconciling with, I think nowadays most people don't care about the time put into it. And it kind of goes against the way I was taught, but I'm not as stubborn as I used to be. I'm very much like, you know what? I can learn. I can definitely swallow my pride and be like, let's try to relearn digital then in this new format. Yeah, I'm curious to hear what you guys think.
Well, I mean, what do you feel for yourself?
For me personally, I think I still do appreciate like an oil painting, a pencil drawing. There's something about seeing the time and effort that was put into all the little decisions that were made. And I know that brushes weren't used, or at least not that I know for sure, I guess, but I would assume if you're doing graphite, like if you're doing pencil, as a pencil artist myself, I know how difficult some of those areas are to do, and especially if you're doing like these super big filigree stuff, kind of like we were mentioning earlier. I know how long that can take someone, and if you do it digitally, I mean, there's brushes that can do filigree now for you essentially, or you could just find some on the internet, kind of paste it in your scene, photo bash it, paint over a little bit. But for the most part, there's definitely a lot of shortcuts around it, or hell, actually nowadays you can probably find brushes to do like filigree for you. So I think there will always be a part of me that appreciates traditional and like time that goes into completing those pieces, but I no longer rate them like 1 to 1. I'm no longer like holding up an oil painting next to a digital painting and comparing the two side by side, because I think it's unfair to both. I think to a digital artist, like if they have all these tools available, why wouldn't they use, you know, what they have available to them? And I think for oil painting, I'm just going to compare them to other oil painters because I feel like that makes more sense.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm trying to think for like being a buyer. I think it's like an equation almost, because I think if I knew a piece took time and I really liked the end result, I think I might appreciate it more than a piece that didn't take as much time, but I do like the end result. If like I was comparing the two. But
oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, and like a different token, if the piece took a lot of time but I didn't like the end result, I obviously then won't like it more than a piece that was done quick, but I like the end result.
For you, time still does matter a little bit.
Yeah, it's like a part of the overall. But I think at the end of the day, though, eye candy is eye candy. So I think if you like it, you're gonna like it regardless.
I think that's why a few of my art friends, when we talk about doing digital, and I've even had discussions about me going back into digital, and then when I kind of was explaining to them I'm going to try these new techniques of selection tool and try to find these quote unquote shortcuts in the digital art world, I got some backlash for it. And then it really took a little bit of me to realize that I think it's because we don't want art to become so methodical and so almost like industrialized, where there's no heart put into it anymore, because it's basically step 1 through 10. You create like even for this, essentially it's just a giant coloring book, as you'd mentioned the last time, Josh, where like if you have your outlines, especially if you're doing a study, it's just kind of like painting, you're filling in like you would a coloring book. Now obviously I'm using a reference study, so this is way different because I'm looking at an end result. I'm not creatively asking myself, what is this cottage for, who lives here, why are there flowers growing? There's none of that happening. But in terms of the actual process, it is very much like step 1, step 2, step 3. And I'm trying to find that balance of keeping the heart in what I'm doing, but using tools to utilize my efficiency.
Do you think you'd almost work quicker if it wasn't a study? I know that seems bizarre, but hear me out. Because if you already have your concept on what you're like wanting it to be, and you have your sketch down for it, when you just like kind of, instead of like making sure it lines up, you kind of just have more fun and just go to town on it?
Yeah, it's probably not. I think because
No?
I can be like, okay, it's already given me the lighting information, the color information. I'm essentially just color picking, copy, paste. But I'm sure once I feel competent enough where I can do my own thing, I should be, in theory, I should be faster. Because then I'm not held down to any restrictions or limitation.
Yeah, this is me so nice when you do swordplay.
Right? Well, that was the big question. My friend that I was talking to yesterday was saying, well, are you trying to do digital, but eventually you could incorporate this into your fantasy novel? I was like, probably. That's probably my way of thinking deep down. I just don't know if I have had that talk with myself yet, but probably.
I'm gonna catch up on some comments here.
Oh, yes.
Oh, Elena's here. Hello, Elena. Hey,
Hello,
everyone. I'm at
Elena.
our summer cottage, and our Wi-Fi isn't working. So sharing data from my phone to my iPad unfortunately cannot stay very long because of that.
Mm-hmm.
But got some nice process on my iris painting that I shared on the Discord today. And it's coming along really well.
Mm-hmm.
But too tired to paint now. Got to do some sketching. But you sound
Totally
like
understand.
Tim. I'm so tired, but I'm gonna keep drawing. Just not this other thing.
I know yesterday I played a little bit of Final Fantasy 16, and then it was like 9 or 10, and then Josh was like, oh, well, what are you going to do now? Or something about relaxing. I was like, oh, now I get to draw. Like, now I get to go back to work. As if it was like the thing I was looking forward to doing.
Once I hit my, usually 4 or 5 o'clock in my workday, I'm like, I check out for the day. I'm good. Meanwhile, Tim, he's just, always going.
Love to draw.
I appreciate that about you. You like to draw.
When I have like this weird kick with the tarot cards right now, so I'm like, I'm gonna ride this wave as long as I can. I feel like the tarot definitely comes in waves. Whenever that wave is high, I'm definitely gonna be riding it.
Mm-hmm. No, I like that about you. I'm happy though you've been playing your 16. You give yourself a little time every day at least.
What's weird is I didn't play it for actually a week. My last save file was from last week. But I like that I'm drawing this game out, because I think I would have been disappointed if I beat it on that weekend that I initially intended to.
Winter Illustration asks the house from Kiki's delivery service, right?
Correct.
Nailed it. Yeah, this is. I don't know why I can't remember that. Maybe I need to rewatch Kiki's.
I know we mentioned this last week, but I love Kiki's. It like really grew on me the last time I watched it. A lot, actually.
I mean, I really love the house from Arrietty as well, which I don't think was actually Miyazaki that worked on that one, but
no.
I mean, kind of same concept, just lush, overgrown.
Same team. That makes it any better.
Makes sense then. Antonio says, I've been told that if you want to get really good at digital painting, then you should paint on only one layer, like a traditional painter.
We were just talking about that. This is what my school used to tell me. And I don't know if I agree with that anymore. Well, I'm also doing it in layers because I'm going to save out this Photoshop file so my Patreon backers can like take layers off and see like, oh, okay, that's what this layer looks like. That's what this looks like, and like build it up. But I was definitely taught that method of painting it all in one layer. And yes, I guess if you're very proficient digitally, doing it all in one layer is no problem. Like I'm sure most big name digital artists nowadays could easily do that and not like get hung up on any area. But the way I look at it, and actually a lot of professional artists that I know at least, if like you work for Wizards of the Coast or certain video game companies, they require layers because usually they'll have you remove or add things, and they'll be like, oh, that wing looks that we don't like that wing anymore, take that off, and then we're going to add this new wing on. And if that wing's on in its own layer, I mean, like I said, proficient artists could paint right over it, no problem. But for the most part, I would say the industry standard nowadays. Well, you know what? I can't even say that. I haven't talked to a lot of my industry friends about their process in a long time. So you might be right, but at least the way that I'm going to move forward with digital, I'm definitely going to work in layers and try to build it up that way.
Well, it's kind of like you're saying, if the tool's there, why not use it? But,
also true. Yeah. Okay, so next, so I kind of have this little triangle to the point where I want it. I'm not going to do, they have like a lantern and stuff inside this little room here. I'm going to save that for the very end, because any minute little detail I'm not going to get hung up on. That's something I would used to do a lot. I'm trying not to do that again. Like I said, this is my new process.
Casper stopped by. Hi, Casper.
Oh, I guess, bro.
Welcome, say hi. I'm sure we'll buy Tim in a little bit.
Here. Oh, you know what? I forgot the little chimney. This is zoom in just so I can see the outline. Alright, so this would be an instance where I'm going to use the selection tool. That. And then essentially I'm going to fill it in, and if I do this right, this should take me less than like 2 minutes to make this chimney. We'll see.
Do you see your other dad? Yep, he's working on the other room, Casper.
Hi, Casper.
Yeah, there he is. Casper's like, why are you guys talking through a screen?
Oh, I'm sure for a cat this is very confusing.
Do not understand what's going on. All right, let's see. Enkit says even James Gurney uses brush textures for grass and foliage.
For digital? Oh, for traditional. I'd be very curious to see how he does his process. I feel like, obviously, the last 5 years of my life I've been so consumed by traditional graphite that a lot of it, unless you're using powdered graphite, you really do have to draw every detail. You can imply detail, sure, but if you're really trying to capture the likeness of something, you're probably going to have to draw it by hand.
Felix says it totally depends. Sometimes loose and vivid brushwork with really good shape design can be really impressive and evocative, especially with traditional mediums.
Definitely with like paint, I would say. I feel like I don't really see that with graphite where I actually like it. Because if it's done very, I mean, powder graphite is a weird medium in itself. I just did the piece, and actually that's the video that I'm recording right now. It's about powder graphite. But I feel like for myself, I'm really impressed with artists that can capture detail and texture with traditional. So specifically, Alan Williams, he's like my art hero when it comes to pencil, and he can capture detail so well, but it's so masterful. But then you're right though. Every now and then I'll watch like a paint painter where they kind of like splash it on, or they use some weird technique with like a paint bucket on a string or something bizarre, and I actually kind of like the result.
I kind of want to see that. Wait, is that a thing?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm definitely not going to work on the Cintiq next week if I can make it work. Because holy boy, is the glare on this so bad. Because I have to have lights on in this room to make me look like I'm not a gremlin in the dark. Very hard to see. There we go. Okay, chimney is pretty much in.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna do some catching up though, cause we're still in some comments about the time versus result. So Elena says, for me personally, I really resonate with art more when I can see it has taken a lot of thought and time to produce. I don't think it is the only part that matters, but I care about it. I feel like it depends a lot on what the purpose of the art piece was. Plenty of pieces that didn't take much time have impressed me.
Yeah, I feel the same way. Like, there will be artists on Instagram or I guess there's so many social media platforms now, and even with threads now popping up. But a lot of times I actually like art that just like reeks confidence. I think Amano would probably be the best example of it, where his stuff, it's technically like usually not in proportion, especially with like his human characters. Like sometimes they are, but a lot of times they're a little off. But the confidence he has makes it so powerful, and I connect with it so much because of that. That it depends on the artist, but in that case, I almost don't care if something doesn't take him that long. But I do agree. Then there's artists like Jeremy Bastian, who's like my personal, I would say my number one art hero is Jeremy Bastian. And his stuff clearly is like time extensive and very, or time intensive as well. So I respect the hell out of it.
Yeah, his book's fun to look at. It's like a Where's Waldo book.
It's incredible.
All over.
Every time I see him at a con, I always stop by and let him know that I think his work is just stunning. They said we were catching up.
Oh, sorry. I'm just figuring out what to read. Okay, Felix says, even though my absolute favorite pieces usually tend to be the ones that are more than that, I really love super intricate pieces, especially those where the artist knew exactly what to spend time on.
That honestly is the biggest thing I'm learning with digital. Like, especially with the prairie last week, I didn't have to detail this back mountain almost at all. And if you zoom in, probably not the best looking. But as long as you have the foreground elements super detailed, the viewer's mind will fill it in for them as they look at the piece. And like I said, that's so not the way that I'm used to drawing, especially doing pencil. Yes, I can blur things with a pencil, but for the most part, if I'm going to add detail everywhere, I really want that detail to sing. And to do that, you really have to go in. Like, you can't use a brush traditionally with a graphite medium. But I'm learning with digital, you don't have to have it be over rendered everywhere. And if anything, it can take away from the piece. And I think that's been my biggest kind of revelation, is keeping it simpler sometimes actually makes it better when it comes to doing stuff like this. And like these bushes that I have here, I probably won't push it too much further because it gives that impression that I'm already looking for.
I mean, that makes sense. Because I feel like it almost gives a feeling of real life. Because if I was in that scene in real life, I want people to see like a blade of grass in the distance. It just looks
like out of focus.
Yeah. Lena says, actually, no, I'm gonna read Amy's here. Amy says, I remember being told that I was cheating when using brushes.
Yeah, actually, so if this is the Amy that I'm thinking of, I can't see the names. This is the Amy that I went to school with. And yeah, we very much had that mentality at AI, the Art Institute that we went to, was if you use brushes, you're cheating. And it's crazy because now I almost don't see any younger artist that doesn't use some form of a brush when they're doing, especially environments. There's still some artists that are, like, I would say Cintiq still really impresses me. He mostly uses like a weird shape brush, but then he uses that and he paints like a sculptor, which I really like his stuff too. But then I watch other artists and I'm like, oh my god, they created this entire crazy cool scene with like 1,000,000 flowers and big buildings in like an hour and 20 minutes because the brushes that they're using are so purposeful for what they're trying to do.
I mean, when someone says not to use a brush in Photoshop, are they just saying like a circle, like whatever the default is that comes with? Or, like,
yeah, so
the
default ones that most people use. Okay, so this is just a basic circle standard brush. This is how I was taught to paint. So like, quick side note.
Sorry, I'm distracting.
No, this is great. That's what the streams are for. Like, if I was to make this look more like a sphere, instead of masking this out and doing it properly, what we were taught to do is you literally build it up like this, where you paint it on. Let me do it slowly. And the idea was that then essentially then you color, or what is it? Eyedropper tool it, and essentially you smooth it out so it looks cleaner, but you wanted the brush texture. Now, mind you, this is when I went to school. It's way different now. But the idea was you let that texture be seen, but ever so slightly. And if you could let that texture be seen, but still have a nice gradient, like that was the goal. And then you would use like a little bit of your bounce light underneath.
Oh, weird.
And it was very much like, this was the method. Oh, it looks so different on OBS. Where nowadays, instead of doing this whole nonsense, you would lay down your thing, probably lock it out, get bigger, do a little of your bounce light, grab a lighter for the highlight, put it on, and like you're done. Like that would be a similar process. Or if you want to make it have some texture, you either put the texture on as you go, or as like the final thing. And actually, I don't like this texture brush. I'll grab one. Where are they? Be like this brush. And you would grab like a texture brush, and then you would add the texture on after.
Oh.
Or it might add like a noise filter or something. Oh, did I do this all in the same layer? Oh my goodness. Hold on.
Timothy.
Think we might be good. Beautiful. Thought we might be in trouble there for a second.
Oh my god.
Whoa. Okay, so this is right now my eraser brush. I know there's a delay for you, but watch what happens when you paint over the sphere. You get like this cool silhouette cut in. And like those are the digital tricks that I'm talking about, that it was like shunned when we went to school, which is crazy. Especially now how wrong that mentality was. It's weird to me. It's weird that hung on in my brain for so long about like you can't use brushes, like don't use brushes.
Elena says, as an example of something I know took less time to make compared to your other pieces, your plant kids are some of my favorite of all time from you.
Well, that's
They're
good to
so
know.
good.
Yeah, those are just my little babies. Those take no time at all.
I feel like the plant kids would like Ghibli movies.
Yeah, absolutely.
Antonio says, we're in the middle of a second industrial age. Like the last one, there's art that's quickly mass-produced. However, the last industrial age also gave birth to the arts and crafts movement.
Wait, so what are we trying to say here?
No, just how like some art's probably being done quickly. So it's
like it's becoming industrialized.
yeah. Or I guess like
Interesting.
commercial art. I mean, I feel like with these tools, to me it's kind of a no-brainer, like you're saying. It's like if you have them, why not use them? Because now it's just playing into like almost a morality debate of what's right or not. Because if you can get the same result and do it in a little less time, yeah, I don't know.
Do you know what the craziest thing is though? And I don't even know if I should be saying this, but like I don't know if I'll ever appreciate digital the same way I would appreciate like oil. Actually, I'm pretty confident that I'll never appreciate digital the same way I appreciate other traditional mediums, and it could be my own upbringing, my stubbornness. I don't know what it could be, but I think there's something about when I see someone do oil painting and do it well. Like I think of the Gerards, Annie Stagg, Brahm. That to me, I have such a undying love and respect for them.
I mean, oils are just, it's crazy.
Oils are crazy. Artists that use watercolor, as some of our watchers know that use watercolor, it is not an easy medium to work with.
Elena.
Right.
I mean, yeah, you can't mess up.
But at the same time, there's nothing I have against digital in terms of like respecting an artist. Like, I would say a few of my favorite artists right now are digital, or at least when it comes to color, are digital artists. And then I think, I mean, this could be a hot take. There are some artists like Nanako, who I just got their tarot deck. For the longest time, I thought they were digital, and I found out they actually use acrylics, but they paint it so flat and so well that it looks like it's digital. And it blows my mind that it's not.
Oh wait, those tarot cards you just got?
Yes.
Oh, I thought those were digital too.
Well, I don't know if the tarot cards specifically are digital or not, but most of her paintings, if you look on her Instagram, those are all acrylics, which basically look like the tarot cards. So actually, there's a chance that the tarot cards are also that. But isn't that nuts?
Yeah, I mean, that's commitment. I was trying to see if I could pull up their Instagram, but I'm logged out for some reason.
Oh, you could just Google if you want to put that link in the description for people to see who we're even talking about. And actually, going to what Felix was saying though earlier, this is where color picking can be rough, because right now I can tell the window that I'm painting, the colors underneath are too muted and slightly not as saturated as I would like, at least compared to the reference. So I'm gonna have to kind of color pick, or not. I'm gonna have to pick the color and then edit it for myself, because I need to be able to see, why is it looking lighter? Where are there more of the purple hues? Why is it looking that way? Bring up some of that saturation. So even here, I'm like, okay, there's more of that magenta right in that window, and there's like a little bit of a hot orangey in this color, or in this window here. Yeah, like that. Hi, Casper. He's about to jump up on the desk.
Oh, Vigilante, I must have missed one of your comments. I don't see anything else.
Hi, Casper.
Definitely try restunning it, because I might see it now. Yeah, I'm not seeing it. We'll blame the train on that one. Felix
Casper?
says... Oh, is Casper in the way?
He is.
Casper.
Mr. Man.
He has
I'll
to
play with
bother
you
both
as
of
soon
us.
as the stream's out, okay?
Oh my god. Oh,
He's just probably
I see his
confused why
scale.
we're talking to ourselves.
He's
I
like,
promise,
"You guys
after
are
the stream, I'll play with you."
stupid. You can just walk 5 feet. Hi, Casper.
He gets confused every time we do a stream, because he's like, what? Why are they doing what they do?
They're just talking to us.
They're just talking out loud.
Hi, Casper. How's it going? Oh my goodness.
This is where I actually think I should create my own brushes, because the texture that's on the side of this building, I'm not really stumbling upon any of the brushes that I downloaded from either of the artists that I feel fit what I'm looking for. And this is where, back in the day when I was teaching digital, I would have just made a brush like in a separate file and created that so that I would have it in the future then. This is not giving me quite the result I'm looking for.
Felix says, talking about color picking, it is so satisfying when you try to guess a color and are super unsure. Then you just go by your gut and it's exact color, super satisfying.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Totally
Felix
agree.
also says for that orangey glow on the window, that is actually a gray velvet.
Oh. Color theory at play. Yeah, colors will change their appearance based on their relationships to the colors around them, which is super cool. Holy jeez. John, I've never had a worse time trying to paint it digitally than today with the screen is so glary that I can't like to even see the reference. I have to like move my head directly over it.
Oh god. I mean, yeah, plus you're working with dark colors.
Yeah, these are like super dark blues.
I think after the wedding, you really should treat yourself to a new Cintiq.
Honestly, I might go back to using the tablet.
Oh, the
I like using
perforator.
Cintiq if I need to like hand write something or if I need precision, but I felt pretty proficient with just the normal dumb little tablets.
Well, then your color, because Tim's using, it's like an old monitor for his Cintiq too.
It's very
It's,
old.
yeah. So the colors are definitely muted on it. I kind of like the colors on it weirdly when you do it. Like sometimes I'll watch him color on it and then he moves it to the max screen and it's almost like more saturated.
It's way too saturated then. I've done that a few times with my past pieces where I paint it all on the Cintiq and I think it looks great. And then when I save it out and I upload it, back in the day, if it was like DeviantArt or Facebook, it would be like shockingly vibrant. And I'm like, oh, this is not the vibe I was trying to hit. But I needed to like see it on the other monitor or like on my phone.
Skimming ahead a little bit, Antonio says there's also anti-glare screen protectors for Cintiqs.
Oh, I definitely need to get that.
Is it it might, I guess it's just the way the light's scattered today too. It's like everywhere in the house.
I love that you think that's how. You know what? Yeah, that's it. That bathroom light upstairs, that's the reason the glare on my Cintiq's so bad.
I'm an artist.
Right.
Do you have your window shade pulled?
Yeah, they're all the way closed. The thing is, because I had to light the room enough, so I have a lot of lights on the ceiling. I have this light behind me. It's light noise, and because the screen is so sensitive to reflect any light, it is like hard to see when you're working with dark colors. Like up here, I can see up here just fine. These darker blues, this is a little rough. Don't worry though, I'm gonna stop complaining about it. I'm just gonna figure out a way before next week, or I might try to really actually see if I can get my old bamboo hooked up.
You could just keep doing little smudges and then run into my room, see what it looks like on my screen, and I run back and forth.
Do some runs back and forth. Well, I think part of me is curious because this year's Drawtober theme, we'll just say, might have to do with some environment work. And I think I want to challenge myself to do either interiors or exteriors. I'm not sure yet. But I might utilize some of the new things I've been learning digitally, or I might just do the prompts all together digitally. We'll see.
Lena says, I just had to go help my dad find his biscuits with cheese. He left them on the ladder up to our loft and looked for them for 5 minutes. I found them for him. Got a good laugh out of it. Just left his biscuits and cheese on the ladder. And then says also, Amy, calling an essential part of a medium cheating is so stupid. Like telling a watercolor artist they can't use pencil outlines. Oh yeah, with using brushes on Photoshop.
I'm telling you, I don't think it was necessarily anyone's fault back in the day. I think because it was still somewhat relatively new, that I think just the general idea was kind of like how people are seeing AI nowadays, which I know that could open a mixed bag of worms here, but I genuinely think that's how a lot of people view it. Not the majority yet, but in 5 years, I wouldn't be surprised if Gen Z, the new gen, wouldn't, or even the iPad gen, which I believe is the one after that, if they won't see AI as cheating, and like what will happen moving forward after that, I don't know.
Yeah,
It's
'cause, I mean, they're just gonna grow up with it being normal.
uh-huh. Isn't that weird? They're gonna grow up with AI being normalized.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like with any, it's like with any technology change all throughout the years, it's always gonna screw someone over. So I think even like outside of art, you think about like when cars came along, people that were raising horses for horse and buggies and stuff. Like, I don't think anyone when the technology changes likes it.
But you know what the weirdest part is? I never thought art would be one of the things affected by it.
Right? You would think it would be the last thing, but it's like the forefront of this new change now.
And do you know why? I think it's because that's where there's a lot of money. There's a lot of money in entertainment.
Oh yeah.
Um, I think we're gonna see it more and more utilized in movies and TV shows, sadly. I mean, I say sadly because I'm a millennial. I'm sure the new gen's like, well, if it gets it done faster, if we're just focusing on results, who cares about the process? It's a weird time. It's a very weird time to be alive and especially to be an artist. Hopefully, like as of right now, I do a lot of cons and Josh and I do the con circuit a lot. And as of right now, most cons are kind of against AI booths in general. We don't really see a lot of them yet, but who knows? 2, 4, 5 years when they get new management, maybe the new management might be okay with it. And then I don't know. Where do we go from there?
Right? It's really hard to say. Like, you can't really predict these things anymore.
Mm-mm.
I will admit though, I've definitely watched. Have you seen the AI SpongeBob on YouTube?
No.
They literally have AI writing SpongeBob episodes. It's not great, but it's funny.
Well, I always tell people because everyone always says, like, even with Midjourney when their hands were terrible, I was like, yeah, but that's the starting point. I don't think you guys realize, like, it's only going to get better. Like, the first time you picked up a pencil, you were probably not a great artist. As technology gets better and better, so will AI. And, like, who knows? Maybe in a year we'll be talking about the SpongeBob AI episodes and being, it's the funniest thing ever.
Well, it's kind of like, I mean, think about like auto-tune. That's technically AI. Especially now too. Auto-tune is like just done by itself completely. But like, think about, remember how like
Yeah, but AI is
uproar
more like
people were about that?
forcing a note to fit a registered. Like if you're singing not in an A key, but it'll just like force it into A. I think what's more crazy are AI basically being like Lana Del Rey singing "Believe" by Cher. The one
Oh
on
my God,
YouTube
yeah.
that sounds like Lana Del Rey. I'm like, this is getting so creepy where people
Oh,
now can pick up
speaking of that,
voices.
Tim loves these AI songs because they're kind of like, you can basically look up any artist you like and find them singing a song you like.
I mean, love is an interesting
but
word. I would say I love Lana Del
he,
Rey, so it's almost like she's doing covers of some of my favorite songs.
yeah, I found there's one for Fade Into You today. I saw.
I know, and I love that song.
I know.
The one that I watched wasn't great. Was yours pretty good?
It was on TikTok of all places. I saw it, so it sounded good. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm gonna block in this tree here.
Antonios says the mass production of items shined a brighter spotlight on original art. Sure, there's AI art now, but I know for a fact that there are people who hate how programs are replacing people.
And you know what's crazy is so like, I was just talking about this too. When I go to cons, all of a sudden my art is seen as like, how do people describe, like they're more impressed now because it's done traditionally with a pencil. And it's crazy because nothing changed for me. Like I haven't been doing anything different the last 5 years, but all of a sudden now people see my stuff as like, oh my god, he did this with a pencil. And then on the flip side, some of my friends caught really bad backlash of the whole AI movement, and all of a sudden a lot of them are being questioned. Did you do this with AI? Did you do this with Midjourney? And there's like a mistrust now, unfortunately, amongst digital artists or amongst people going to shows where artists are selling their digital works, because all of a sudden it's like, how much of this did they do with AI? Isn't that sad? Actually, I have one friend, I won't say names or anything, but almost every show now that he goes to, he gets constantly questioned if he did this with AI. And it sucks because his stuff is definitely more abstract and has more of an AI look, if you want to call it that. But like, I understand why people are questioning it, but it sucks that now all of a sudden his integrity is being questioned, sometimes silently, by people just passing by. So sorry, long answer to what, or not even answer, just replying to what you were saying about people appreciating traditional now more than ever. I definitely agree with that, because I'm seeing it physically happen when we go to shows.
Yeah, I think it definitely has to do with the crowd too. Like, I'm genuinely curious if you just ask a random person how they feel about it, that like doesn't go to conventions, isn't around art that often. I don't know.
Yeah, when I was trying to explain it to my parents, I don't think they can comprehend it. I don't think they're a good source.
Yeah. Looks like you guys are having some good book discussion. Let's see here. Antonio says, "What if you had your dirt kids as centerpieces for your wedding?" Wouldn't be opposed.
I definitely want to include my art in some regard at the wedding. I just don't know what that looks like yet.
Invites.
Yeah, probably the invites. Yeah. All right. I'm going to come back to the 3 remaining windows because I'm looking at our time. We have like a little more than half hour. We might go over time just a little bit, but I do have volleyball tonight. I'm going to try to do some more of the field work and get some of those lush flowers happening so that we can get a little bit more of a finished look to what we're doing today.
Wait, are you saving the front windows for later?
Oh, thank you, Valerie, for subscribing. All the windows.
Okay. Oh, Vigilante says, "I wrote something about the weather being quite bad, unfortunately, but we still had a good time." You make the best of these things, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, honestly, being at like a cabin with bad rainy weather, stormy, that's kind of nice.
Yeah, sometimes
honestly,
not the worst.
Yeah. Amy says, "I think the way we were taught to paint at AI really drove me away from digital painting. It was so tough to get a good result without it taking forever."
Yes, that's what I'm talking about. And I feel like for a while, especially when I was with Cookie, I would do tutorials and I would just hand paint everything. But eventually it just wore on me where I'm like, I don't even think I enjoy doing this anymore. And you're right, because a lot of it's like, I wanted to get this done. I know how long this would take. I don't know if I have the energy to do it.
Do you think you would have gone forward with pencils if you were doing this back in the Cookie days? Like, if you knew these techniques then?
I probably would have done still a little pencil because I met Alan Williams and I was so impressed with his work.
Yeah.
That him alone really pushed me in this direction of doing like traditional pencil. But I think I would have stuck with digital longer than I did. I definitely like quote unquote gave it up for a while. For a long while, actually.
Excuse me. Nkit says, "As a digital artist, whenever I draw traditionally with the brush pen or pencil, the final result feels just more valuable, even if it is not the best art I made."
There's something about holding a tangible finished product that you made that is very satisfying, and I do agree. I don't get that same feeling with my digital stuff. Yeah, it's different. It is different.
I feel like when I'm seeing someone work on something too, it's like it's cool seeing it on a piece of paper. It's like the natural eye compared to looking at it on a screen.
Mm-hmm.
Drea says I had to get a paper-like screen protector for my iPad because I was having glare issues. It helped.
I will say that's the one thing I really don't like about digital sometimes is like you gotta make sure your color matching on your monitor is good. Photoshop is registering. With pencil and paper, it's just right there. The only thing you really gotta worry about is good lighting. That's easy as long as you can set it up.
Right. Hey, Adria, does yours have the paper texture then too? Because I remember there's one. I can remember someone that reached out for like doing a review for you or something. It was a screen protector that had that where like it gives you the resistance that paper does along with being a protector.
I think most of them do.
Okay. Felix says, "My God, the perspective on the windows is killing me. So intricate."
Oh yeah, because that's right. You're doing the study, aren't you?
Is it those front corner windows, or just all of them?
They're all pretty small. Right, let's see. He has some of the flowers here. I'm gonna try to just dab them on like a field. Look.
I keep slouching in my chair. I'm like all conscious of it now because there's a camera. This is what I do when I'm just alone working. Slowly like
Slouch.
sink into it. Yeah. Stand up straight or sit up straight. Posture check for everyone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm sure mine could be way better right now too. I have to like get that angle for the reflection. Wow, you can even use a flower brush to capture some of these groupings of flowers. Nice.
Antonio says, screw that. AI art requires no artistic talent whatsoever. You just type in a prompt and then it spews out something out.
I mean, trust me, I'm probably more on your page than you even know, but I feel that way, and I know you feel that way, but I'm telling you, I don't know if the next generation really cares that much. And it's sad. I think millennials will always care. Anything older than millennial will care. Some of these young bucks that I am seeing at cons just don't know if they really care or not.
I think we just need to make a new name for it. Like, instead of them calling themselves artists, I don't know what, like art technician or
like actual con artists.
Yeah, actual. Yeah, I don't know. I think that's been my only, for me personally, my biggest issue with it is just people that make accounts where they're posting it and they call themselves an artist, and I'm like, maybe it'll feel better if they call themselves something else.
You know what's crazy is that's the bigger discussion that's happening right now, is it's making people question what is art. Like, because if we're setting up rules of what is and isn't art, isn't that against what art is? And what's great for me is because a lot of my art friends always tell me like, oh, well, art's always subjective and blah, 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 and can't look at art objectively, because I have a bad habit of like looking at art and being able to say, well, I think objectively this is well done, technically this is well done, I like the creative originality on this area, but I think they hate when I talk like that because it's like, oh, art's supposed to, you know, be free and no one can control it. But all of a sudden AI comes around and everyone's like, we have to control this, we have to make sure that AI artists don't call themselves artists and blah blah blah. And I'm like, oh, so now it's more objective. Like now we can start saying what is and isn't art. That's funny. Because a lot of people will say, because it's directly stolen from other artists. No, mind you, I'm just playing devil's advocate. But a lot of them will say, what's the difference between you using reference and like heavily referencing what you do, or using 3D models to start up your drawings, or like any quote unquote shortcut, AI I think is like the biggest shortcut you could possibly take. So all of a sudden it's putting everything else into question of like, well, where is that line of it's not a tool, it is, I don't know. It's been really
Yeah.
interesting. I mean, a lot of my friends cannot stand talking about AI anymore because it's a conversation that seems to go nowhere and everyone's kind of sick of it at the moment. And I think because some of our friends are losing jobs now, like it's actually become more serious. Um, but I still think the conversation around it is fascinating.
Yeah.
Because I would never use Midjourney, make a final piece, and be like, "This is mine. Like this, this is my work. This is my art." I think using it to create like a Pinterest board and like use it as a reference point for yourself, I think that's how it should be used. But I definitely think I'm in the minority when it comes to, well, maybe not in the minority. I think that's how a lot of people wishes it was used, but I don't think that's how most people use it. I do think a lot of people literally type in their prompt, kind of like what you're saying, Josh, post it on Instagram, call it theirs, and then it's done.
Yeah. Well, like, okay, so if we put aside all the like copyright issues that'll come from this and stuff to stealing people's work, like, is there a problem if Blizzard, for example, is like, hey, we want to just make our own AI, we're gonna pump all our work into it, our style. I
Well,
guess,
that's
like, is that wrong of them then to do that? Yeah, people are gonna lose jobs, but as a company, doesn't that make sense if they have that tool there? I don't know.
so
It's
it's
like such a weird discussion.
so it's kind of nuts about what you're just saying is that's what is happening. So
Oh, okay. Oh, so that is already happening. I didn't even know that was like. I thought that was like down the line.
so imagine you are Pixar Studios, right? You have a pretty distinct style to your stuff. Why not upload, make your own AI essentially, and then upload all the works that you've ever made, all the movies you've ever done, all the 3D models, whatever, and then start generating content based on what it comes out because it'll look like your style, it'll look like your content. And we know an artist or two that are actually making their own AI, but only throwing in their own work. So then, what is the discussion there of like, where's the line? Because if they're only using their own work, would that be still considered their own art? And obviously, I lay on the side that to me, art is way more than the end result. So I think that's why even going back to digital and using brushes has been very weird for me. Because to me, art is like the soul of a person being reflected in what they're creating. Where nowadays it's become more of a commodity, which is very weird. Where it's like, how can I make the most amount of money with this? Where I don't think that was always the intention with art. Actually, I think that's a very modern 21st century way of looking at it. It's very weird to me. And I think we're seeing it specifically with the entertainment industry. I mean, how many times are we going to see a Disney remake and be like, oh my God, this is like soulless. There's nothing here. And you feel bad because there's hundreds of artists that worked on it, but there's just no heart. It was literally, you can feel that it was done for money. Um, and I hope that that's not the direction we go as a whole, as like a populace. So I always want to be one of those artists that, I think that's why I'll always do traditional. And when I do digital, I still want it to have very much my unique voice in it. And I think a lot of you feel the same way with your own work. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes in the next 10 years with AI.
Oh, Drea says the iPad it does have the paper texture.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I have to share that one because yeah, I feel like Tim could use something. No
Uh,
glaring. I know. I feel like AI is one of those topics that it's so interesting. I think because it's this new technology that we're all, I mean, in every facet of our lives right now, it's starting to go into it. So,
mm-hmm.
because even with the when I do Tim's video editing now too, there's AI in video editing. There's AI. I mean, every industry now is kind of being affected by it in some way. So,
Yeah, it's
I
weird
think
with video editing. It'll like cut the pauses in between, or it'll catch when you say or like or whatever. I don't know what
yeah,
one you're
just
using,
auto
Josh, but
cuts. It's
that's
the one built
crazy.
into Premiere Pro, yeah. And I haven't used it yet actually. This last video I did it manually still, but
Oh, gotcha.
after I did it, I was like, oh my god, you could just press the button and it does it. They even have the AI for Premiere Pro where if you have like background music and you need it to be maybe like a minute longer or a minute
Oh yeah,
shorter,
this is crazy.
it'll automatically make it where the song goes through smoothly and it ends exactly at the minute point you need it to end. I don't know how it does it, but it just, yeah.
That to me is nuts.
Where on your art book video, I literally manually like did that essentially. So I'm like, oh my god, I could just use this stuff like that. Though I don't really like second. I don't think about it. I think it's funny because in all other industries, there's people losing jobs too. But I think people don't think about it that much because oh, it's making the job easier. Like accounting, why wouldn't you want to use AI for accounting that could quickly like go through a book, double check things for you?
Well,
Um,
that's so this is the other question is how much automation do we want integrated into our day-to-day lives? And I
yeah.
think that's why you see a lot more customer service going worse and worse because they're being all replaced. Actually, I just heard apparently most customer service for big business will all be replaced by AI. So like you will not be talking to a real person unless if you are very, very lucky. But it'll all be like robots that sound real. And I think we'll just get more and more frustrated with it. And eventually, I think there will be a bigger push against AI eventually. And I think brands will specifically be like, our customer service is 100% human. Like it'll be part of
Oh
like the
yeah.
marketing, you know? Isn't that
I
weird
mean,
though?
it's an interesting time to be alive. I think it's kind of fun. It's not fun for everyone I know though. So
Oh,
that
fun
sounds
for
bad
you,
to
huh,
say.
Joshua?
It's fun for me because I'm not affected by it. That sounds really bad.
That sounds
Um,
pretty terrible, yeah.
that does sound really terrible. I'm sorry. It came out bad.
You're a terrible person.
I'm just horrible. Antonio says, yeah, I'm gonna catch up on comments.
Okay.
Let's see. Okay. I feel the same way with digital and traditional. There's just something about the feel of the medium as I'm spreading it on canvas that feels therapeutic. Oh yeah, I love when Tim's drawing with pencil, the sound it makes. It's very
ASMR.
like um all right, and then all right, Elena, I'm gonna read. All right, Elena's got a few comments for us.
Okay,
So if
let's
new
hear it.
people don't care if it's AI, as long as the AI is sourced ethically and is um, opt-in and pays artists and produces ethical content, I'm okay with that. My sort of half-sister-in-law's advertising company is going down in flames because they hired a guy to train clients to do the work with AI. So now they have no clients.
Mm-hmm.
And
I
then,
oh,
oops, sorry.
I just
No,
want
you
to
go
say
ahead.
I don't I I think I've heard this a lot with a lot of artists talking about this, and I think it's very dreamy to think of people like using it ethically and sourced in a way that it should be, but that's not what will happen
Yeah.
because we can't copyright or like how are we supposed to regulate other countries? And if other countries start using it in that manner, you know it's just a matter of time before America does, sadly.
All right, yeah, Lena, I think I missed some of your early ones too. I'm sorry. Hang on. Elena has a lot to say about this.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna stick here and then we'll go up again. And then Elena says Disney Blizzard doing it on work that they have done is different to me. The artists who worked on it don't have the same level of copyright to the work they did for the company. So if they train it on the work done for the company, it's an entirely different discussion than AI programmers just train on whatever they want off of anywhere they want.
But then the conversation becomes, well, what happens when Blizzard fires 230 artists? What happens when Pixar, Disney Animation, Cartoon Network, Nickelodeon, they all fire all their artists? Um, Except for like 5 to 10 that are like the prompters, quote unquote. It's a very dark future that it's looking right now. And we're seeing it actually happen like in real time where what was the Marvel Casper? He's like,
I guess
I
the
want to
only
talk
thing
about
I don't
AI.
get is because I mean, outside of artist industry though, they're already doing it with even like fast food. They're doing it with basically like most industries now. I know there's something recently about that with like accounting and stuff like that too. It's gonna be affecting every industry. So I'm like, is what's the plan with all these unemployed people?
Well,
Like,
that's the bigger question I think we need to
yeah,
answer is how much automation do we actually want in our day-to-day lives? Like, I think we all have to ask ourselves that question. And it's tough because I don't think a lot of people want to do the manual labor jobs anymore. Everyone wants to be. I mean, I can't even defend myself on this because look at what I'm doing. My job is being on YouTube right now, going to cons, selling my art. I'm not really adding to society outside of the artistic value, if you want to give it that credit. But a lot of people, yeah, they would rather have most of the stuff automated for them, and it's tough. I don't know. Where do we all sit with that?
yeah. Well, actually, Adria says it too. We're like, it's fun because we're only at the beginning of the dystopian future, not in the middle of it, right? And it's curious to know like what we're gonna see in our lifetime, but yeah,
I had a
Elena,
friend.
I see what you're saying. It's not like the viewpoint of it's interesting to watch because my career isn't ruined. It's just so messed up to me, especially if that comes from an artist.
Yes.
I think it's um I don't know the best way to put it. It's curious to watch because it's out of our power though. Like we can't really do people are fighting back, which I think's great. But
You do have people like
there's so
Carla
much
Ortiz
money.
fighting it.
Right, but you look how much money's in it now too. Like it's kind of our power, so it's interesting to watch play out. I don't like it, but yeah, I don't know. It's weird.
This is definitely the downsides of capitalism, where I'm not someone that I'm like super against the system. I'm not like an eat the rich person necessarily. But I think this is where we're going to start seeing problems because money talks and it's the loudest influence over company decisions nowadays, which is sad because when you saw Disney owns Marvel, and Marvel, I think it was the new Samuel L. Jackson show that came out on Disney Plus, and the intro was AI generated, and it
What?
caused quite an uproar. And they were saying, well, it reflects the subject matter in the show and blah blah blah. But a lot of people are like, no, 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 you just didn't want to pay team. But then some people are saying, well, yeah, but a team still worked on it, blah blah blah. I think they're trying to look for ways to sneak AI integration into everything, and they're just slowly doing it one by one, and then eventually I think by the next couple years we'll see some AI generated movies in the theater. People think I'm crazy when I say that, but like I don't know what's stopping a lot of these companies from doing that, because imagine if you could create a film using AI, the amount of money you would save just all around would be crazy. But the exciting part of it for us as artists is like, what if eventually we're able to watch our own created movies? Like, what if I wanted to watch an 80s fantasy? This is the example I always give. Like, what if I was able to type in, I want to watch a 30-minute fantasy epic with Lady Gaga as the villain and Harry Styles as the hero, set in like a labyrinth style, Jim Henson-esque setting. Like you could type in all these things and it would generate a 30-minute short based on what you like and what you want. It's going to become really crazy really fast once that starts happening. And it feels like a Black Mirror episode that we're really getting closer and closer to like living in daily.
Weird.
Right?
I mean, no, it's curious to know because with technology too. To me, in my mind, I'm like AI is just the pinnacle of technology. That's going to be where it stops, right? But
That's all we
there'll
can
be stuff,
comprehend.
right? That's all I can comprehend. Because if you think about it too, like if we brought someone from 100 years ago to the present now, let's take AI out of the equation, they would think we're insane. They'll be like, "This is wrong. Everything's wrong. Computers are wrong." So it's like
Internet.
what we have right now, we don't even think about because it's so second nature. So I feel like AI's made this weird generational thing that I don't think we're ever gonna be okay with or settle right with us. And like you said, I think either the youngest generation right now or the one past that, they're not gonna even think about it. They're not gonna see it as like a moral dilemma.
Right? Like morally bankrupt.
Yeah, I don't know. Or it just goes complete dystopian, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I don't know. I don't see that happening, but
I
I
mean,
like
if
to
it
have
does,
hope in
we might
humanity,
be dead by that time, anyways.
right? Oh, Tim's tackling the windows.
I know I'm like, okay, we might have to go a little over on time today, I at least want some of the windows done. This is where it was different than last week, where I'm so new to doing architecture. I'm like, I don't even know the right way to approach this. I probably should have watched a tutorial on architecture, because I watched a lot of ones on like open fields and stuff, and they were very helpful, but holy Jesus, building's a whole nother beast to tackle.
Right. Elena says, I would like to reiterate, I know it will keep progressing and jobs will be lost, but what I cannot stand is people just saying it's inevitable, so it's all okay.
Oh, it's definitely not all okay. It is
Yeah.
inevitable, but it's definitely not okay.
Yeah. I don't
I
think,
think
yeah.
I think we're going to see quality really start slipping. I mean, I've already been kind of on the team of old millennial geezers of thinking everything's kind of gotten much worse in terms of entertainment. But I think we're going to see it get really bad once AI starts taking over a lot of these jobs, because then you're losing the heart. And a lot of the reasons why we attach ourselves to these IPs and things growing up is because there was so much heart and soul put into like look at the golden age of Disney. When you look at the animators and the composers and everyone that worked on those movies, I didn't see the new Little Mermaid, but I can almost assume that there is going to be a difference in quality from the new one and the old one. And this has nothing to do with the race argument or any of that, nonsense. That I don't think that's the real issue. I think the real issue is that Disney remakes are setting the standard now, unfortunately, and it's so low that I'm nervous for the kids growing up thinking like the 2019 Lion King is like the Lion King for them. And it's just soulless. Like, what will they create? And then again, for them, they're like, well, we'll just use AI. We don't need to put our own emotions into it because the AI will do it for us. And I'm like, that's even scarier. I don't know. I'm very curious what it'll look like in the next few years. But for me, I'm just going to keep learning to paint little environments, do my little pencil sketches, and I'm going to keep hopefully influencing people when I meet them that they should still create their own stories and put their own soul into their work.
I think that's where we get in the doom and gloom, but I generally, I think especially being at conventions, I think if you sit online, you'll start feeling a different way, but like being at conventions, seeing people face to face, you know, I think people care about that more than the AI and all that too. I
Yeah.
think online it could feel like this, everyone's just all for this, but I don't know. I feel like you said, being at conventions, talking to people, people really like art that has the care and actual human input in it over AI.
I think you're very right. I think that's actually what made me feel way more comfortable about this whole debate is meeting people and people specifically saying, I'm buying this because I know it's done by your hand and there was a heart behind it. But that's where it unfortunately took a hit on some of our other friends that, yeah, do abstract digital. Well, all of a sudden, yeah, now people are going to assume that's AI, sadly.
Yeah. I think when it comes to like the media and stuff too, I think how you said earlier too, companies that are going to be all like their slogan, their way to advertise it will be it's not AI. You know, that's going to
Yep.
become the new like so I think we have to sit through maybe like 5-10 years of just turd entertainment, but then I think it's going to shift back to like
Turd
okay.
entertainment.
Yeah. Lena says, people saying it's invisible, so it's okay, or no use fighting for regulations or laws or such. I feel like there's been a lot of progress with that though too, because wasn't there a thing passed about that? Like now you can't just use AI willy nilly,
Yeah.
right? Did that law? I thought there's
This
a
is
law.
where it gets really tough. Like, trust me, I want to agree and be on your side and do the good fight. But like, how do we regulate that in China? And if
Yeah,
there's China AI or Chinese, or I don't want to just throw China under the bus. Any country, if they develop their own AI where it's not illegal to use AI there, well, of course, Americans are going to get their hands on it somehow and just use that to create stuff. And then it becomes this whole mess and it will become a whole legal battle mess where they can't, like, let's say 2000 movies or shorts or, a million art pieces are using AI every year. the court system's not big enough to handle that amount of cases. So it's gonna get really messy before it gets cleaner, and I don't even know if it could get cleaner, to be honest.
Felix says the way I do it with stuff like windows, get the base on one layer, and then any intricate lattice or line work on a layer above.
Actually, that's so funny. That's what I just did. Look, here's the little window layer, and then I did the what are these even called? The beams. What are those called? Because lattice is this way, right? Does that also refer to the plus window?
That could be lattice. Actually, what do they call those windows?
I think lattice are the ones that are the diamond pattern. I'm pretty sure. So like the window that's over here.
Oh yeah. So what would they call the diagonal ones then?
You tell me. Window panes?
Or the horizontal, sorry.
Wait, our window... Oh, no, we're just going to sound dumb if we keep asking ourselves questions like these that are Googleable. I'm going to do a little bit of the detail on the inside porch here. And I'll do the other window, and I think I might have to call it done because we're running into our time soon.
Oh, they just call them window grids if it's
Oh.
At least that's the like I'm sure there's a fancier name we could find for it.
Of course
window
it's just...
muttons?
Muttons?
Window muttons? Yeah. Or mullions.
Oh. Weird. Actually, I feel like it's funny that we're having all of this conversation because I feel like it was on a call with Felix and a few others. I think it was a month or two ago. And Felix was just worried about like what about artists that use 3D, like they build a 3D base and then paint on top of it. And he was afraid of that being cheating. And it's so funny how that was his like version of cheating, or like what his view was. And for me, and growing up at the art school that I went to, it was definitely using the brushes was used as cheating. So it is funny now with AI, where like that to me is like the ultimate form of cheating. And I'm glad that there is such a pushback from artists. Like I'm glad a lot of artists are standing against this. I think one might be a little bit out of fear, obviously. The two is like we really want to fight for stories and for things we believe in. And I think art, if you're really passionate about it, like you want to protect it at all costs. So I'm glad to see even the discourse we've had today, or the discussion we've had on the stream. Like I'm glad people are so strongly like fighting it, because it means that they care, and they care about what it means for the future moving forward.
Alina says, I like to view it a bit like a lot of illegal things and awful things happen. That doesn't mean laws and regulations shouldn't exist just because people don't follow them. And then my home country shares a border with Russia. I get the non-conforming countries. There are always places that you can't regulate because of politics. Yet here it is once again, doesn't mean that the legislation shouldn't be there, or their regulations.
I guess my question is, because, and I know it sounds like I'm not on the team that you're on, but I am. I'm just thinking this through of like, who's going to be regulating this? You know, like if I go to a con and I have an idea that one of the artists are using AI to make their pieces, how do I take that person? How do I get that regulated? You know, like who do I talk to? And I could talk to the staff, obviously, and they could be like, well, we have to force this artist to, I guess, prove it. But then what does that look like? You know, like, do they have to show their layers in Photoshop? What if they work on one layer? What if they can't prove it necessarily? Do they have to bring like a flash drive with them to cons? Like it just makes things very difficult. Like I think we say regulation, but like what does that look like in practical, objective reality?
Yeah, it's very nuanced, because I like that you feel very strongly about that.
Love it.
Like doing that, actually like enforcing it. But yeah, I understand too, because Elena says, I'm just incredibly tired of the, well, what about this place or this thing not following rules? Like if that's a reason not to not fight.
Trust me, I feel the same way with like my fight with veganism. And it's like, yeah, I get that, there's a lot of countries out there that it would be very difficult for them to go veganism. Or I know in one of the top debates with like pollution, a lot of Americans are upset that we keep putting all these green tax regulations in place because it's like, well, China's the number one contributor to pollution in the world, but no one's regulating them. So why are we tightening our ship so much? And that's where I agree with you. It's like, well, just because some other country is doing it their way doesn't make it right, doesn't mean that we should lower our standard. That's where I do agree with you 100%. But I guess my question is, what does that look like? Like, what does actual regulation look like? Because I think it's only going to get more and more difficult. And I don't see regulation even being like a possibility. And Carla would kill me if she would hear this right now. And I'm glad that she's fighting it. I'm super glad that there are people actively fighting it. I just don't see realistically it happening long term, because unfortunately, greed is a very common human emotion that a lot of people feel. And if they get a scent of money and blood in the water, they're gonna tackle that. And I think AI, there's a lot of money to be had in the future with it, and I don't like that. Obviously, AI is making things very crazy for a lot of artists, but maybe it's more like I'm not even trying to argue with you. I'm genuinely curious. Maybe because like if you can give me a scenario that I can see it playing out, it might give me more of an objective answer when like me and my friends talk about this, that I could be like, oh, actually I heard this one thing that this person told me and this makes a lot of sense. Maybe I'm asking not in like trying to be argumentative with you, but in a I really genuinely want to know how to make this happen.
Plus Elena says it's midnight, so
oh
this is a difficult discussion to have when you're already tired.
Yeah, right.
Elena does say though, and here's where I think people need to understand that there's regulations and laws that will be enforced in state levels. There's things that can be done on con level. Are you talking like convention levels? Because I know conventions here at least say you can't have AI. I don't think there's any convention I've seen that's like... I don't think any con I've been at yet has AI. There's a couple that had a booth, right?
But yes, even that, there's a couple that had a booth so far.
I think a lot of cons are slowly just saying no to it. And that is because of kind of what you're saying too. People are fighting it. People will write the cons and like tell them do not allow AI or here. So a lot of big shows now don't allow it because of that.
To your point, certain spaces like conventions, I think will stay AI free for a long time because of the fight going on right now. But I think as soon as you leave like a brick and mortar place where it's a little easier to regulate it, like online, I have no idea how you're going to regulate that. Because like, I'm pretty sure Midjourney has over 100,000 users on it right now. Like, what happens if each of them create a new image using not well-sourced images every day and they post it as their own art? That's 100,000 cases. You'll have to regulate that. Who is going to be regulating this? I guess this is where that's to me where I get like so caught up of like, God, this sucks, because I genuinely can't imagine how it will be regulated. Casper? Just crawling over me.
Casper?
Hi, Casper. He's like, are you almost done? Like, can you stop talking about AI?
He's like, please.
Poor Casper has had to hear so much of this from me talking with my friends over the last year and a half. I will say, I mean, Josh saw it too. The first week after I discovered AI, I was like destroyed. I really felt like the end times were here. It really affected my mood, my desire to even work. But what helped is, like Josh was saying, being at cons, seeing that people still appreciate things done by hand. I think that like gave me the hope. So a lot of what I'm running on moving forward right now is like just the hope that there's people out there that still appreciate things that were done by hand. And even the fact that a lot of you are fighting so strongly because you believe in this so much, like, shows that yes, people still do believe in the art world and what's created should be you know, something from the heart from a human hand.
I mean, yeah, if it gives peace of mind, I know before I even met Tim, amongst my friends, none of them are artists, talking about art, there's always an appreciation for just, I don't know, art that had time and thought and put into it. I mean, that usually tended to be, like watercolors and oils and stuff too. Um, People like have an appreciation for that. So
Yeah.
I would say don't let this like even like I think sometimes when you talk about AI, people can get really down about it. I know that's what Tim did for a while too. But I
Hmm.
I feel like don't worry. Enjoy the like right now where it's at. And know that people really do appreciate, especially you, Elena, what you're doing. Um like your flowers, your
Yeah,
watercolor
especially
work.
that.
It's so good. Yeah. I wouldn't let it make it feel like it's just like gonna take over everything you're doing. Because I honestly don't see it ever getting to that point though either.
I think there will be always a market for even like what you do with your flowers. There will be someone that will wants to buy flowers that were painted by someone by hand. Like there will be an appreciation for that. At least I think as long as we're alive. I think when millennials die out, who knows?
I mean,
um,
it's. Oops,
I
sorry.
hope I hope this next generation can see the value in things made by hand or things made by people. Like that is actually one of my biggest hopes, uh, of like what we can leave to the next generation.
Elena, let's see. But you are absolutely right about greed and regulations. But as with a lot of laws, I think there's also a level of AI that should and can be regulated harder than other levels than others. And then the world expecting AI to be regulated everywhere, like in a small art competition, is absolutely never going to happen. That's where you are fully right, but the laws need to exist. And then finishes with also my literal uni degree is in just arguing my point of view. So sorry if I get intense,
Oh
but this
no,
has
that's
been a really
great.
but this has been a really great chat and has made me think about it on a new level. No, this has been really nice. I like good discussions.
I think that's something that was kind of lost, in the 2020 era and post 2020 was people were like afraid to disagree with one another on anything, and friends were like, it was so easy to cut people out of people's lives, and I hated that time period because it's like people can still be able to have, like on AI, like we should be able to discuss differing opinions because that helps me broaden my idea and my thoughts on it, and hopefully I can do the same for whoever I'm talking to. And if we don't have those discussions, then we just have a lot of people coming at it from one perspective, one lens of looking at it. And I think we need different lenses looking at, especially these issues that are more like controversial, especially the ones where I don't know if there is going to be a right answer, but I think we're going to try our best to get as close to it as we can.
Well, especially it's like when you're already on the same side of the fence. It's like, yeah, we might have different ways of tackling the
Yeah,
issue,
that
but
too.
we're on the same side of the fence, so it's a good start to have.
Oh my god, I forgot these two windows here. Okay, I might have to finish the lattice window on the left after the stream, but let me at least finish these two windows here. And if any of my Patreon backers follow along with me on this today, if you want to post in the Discord, I will add it and show it to the stream very shortly. But I'm gonna try to add this as quick as I possibly can.
Been trying to look at some things for our wedding. So actually, the DJ just got back to us. I'm excited to show you,
Hey.
Tim. Oh, actually, I couldn't even see that window because my face was blocking it.
I know, I feel so dumb right now. I'm like, oh, how did I forget these two windows on the top here?
Do they cancel your volleyball if it's raining or only if it's like thundering?
I think thundering.
Oh, okay. Ooh, that sucks. Have fun.
Playing
I'm gonna
volleyball in the
stream
rain,
that tonight.
not my favorite, we'll just say.
Hmm. Actually, that moonlight feels like in our room. Our room sometimes has like the moon just hits the window perfectly that the entire room's just lit
Like
up with
every
moonlight.
night.
Yeah, it's so nice.
Well, we installed a bigger window 2 years ago. Wow, that was 2 years ago.
Yeah, yeah.
I guess we had this unintentional side effect where, yeah, now every night we see the moon like come into our room really big and it like lights up the room. Thankfully, it's not so bright that we can't fall asleep, but definitely bright. Okay.
Is Casper in there right now or no? He is
Um,
not. He keeps going back
no.
and forth, but he'll like run in quick and then run back out.
It's kind of cute
What a
though. I
goof.
do hear the rain ever so slightly now.
Right, it's so nice. The grass needs it.
Right. So
Oh,
I'm
we
gonna
actually should
do.
have planted the grass.
Oh yeah, right. I'm gonna do the quickest windowsill here because I'm just gonna copy and paste it to do the one next to it. Actually, speaking of digital art tricks, this is definitely one of the top ones I can think of. It's just copy and pasting when you have something finished. Paint.
Hmm. Oh, so you can just like duplicate it.
Mm-hmm. It is weird, like I definitely still like having my circle brush for some things, and I'm sure I'll learn what better to use. Like to make these just nice straight lines, because right now they're a little wobbly. Something about just picking up a standard brush and just making it feel nice and cut.
Mm. Yeah, like that window glow.
So if we do this right, oh, you know what? Those are way too. That's crazy from far away. Okay. Okay, so now it's on its own layer. I'm gonna copy paste it. And just move it underneath. Isn't that weird?
Hang on, delay.
Oh yeah. I think an obvious rule of thumb when it comes to copy paste is make it look slightly different enough where it doesn't look like it was just copy and pasted.
Oh, weird.
Right?
Antonio says, also AI did one good thing for me. It helped me choose between being a traditional or digital artist. My stuff is also abstractive and plays with space, so I would easily Be easily mistaken for AI.
Oh, yeah, thank God that happened before, because I have two friends in particular that are in kind of a very weird position right now because of AI. And I feel so bad for them. Like there's
Yeah,
nothing they could have
that's
done.
not a fun question to get.
Oh God, no. To have someone question the hours and effort that you put into something, being like reducing it to an AI prompt. Ugh.
Yeah, no.
Okay. I mean, there's
Ooh,
definitely areas I want to improve this. Maybe I'll do a little bit more after the stream's over, just to bring it to a nice polish.
still
Obviously,
got that one more
finding
window.
that window.
Yeah.
You know what? Not bad for my first nighttime study scene. Definitely could be improved
Yeah,
upon.
Tim, this looks really good.
Um, you know what? And then actually, Josh, could you check the Discord if anyone submitted? Because if not, I might just quickly add in this final window.
I would start on it then. I'll take
Okay.
a look. Thought I had it open, but I didn't. Mhm. Oh yeah, Manulin is or Monolin is Lena, right? Um, cute little, a cute little drawing.
You draw, or did they post in the Discord?
Yeah, but they said not to put it. You don't have to show it on the stream.
Oh,
Yeah, it's cute though.
I feel like I'm reverting to my old way of painting where you literally paint the entire thing in. And it's so weird going from like all the shortcuts I was just using, then going back to this, which I can now see my own like fallacies or my own like shortcomings with painting it by hand. One of the best things I could have done for myself though is remember not to zoom in.
Felix said that he'll be posting on Discord in a second.
Okay. I feel like because obviously you do environments way more than I do. I'm curious how you tackled a lot of this. I think that's something I'm gonna have to work on with efficiency, is learning how to do buildings better. Um, that's okay. I'm totally okay with the idea that there's still room for improvement, a lot of room, I should say, and I'm still excited about it. I think if I lose that excitement for wanting to learn digital again, that's where everything else will kind of collapse. Well, Josh, you let me know when on there. Actually, I'll pull it off after I'm done with this then.
Perfect. The rain is like calming down right now.
Oh, is
I
it?
don't know if I can. I probably won't be able to see it that well on my camera because it's small, but no, you can't really tell. Just kidding.
I'm sure there's a lattice brush I could use to create this effect. But I'm going to copy and paste it. Onto the other window. And then what I'll do is mask it out and then paint in some of the color that they have. Mask it out. Actually, to really make that sing behind the lattice, I'm going to make it a little darker. That. Okay. I mean, very, very weird techniques used today. I am, like I said, by no means am I an environment artist, and I'm relearning digital. So I am excited moving forward because I can like feel the possibilities of what I could be capable of if I keep practicing digital.
All right, Felix's is up.
Oh, it's up. Beautiful.
Yep.
Okay, I'm just gonna add in these little nonsense. Bada bing, bada boom. Actually, what am I doing? Use a brush. I know, right? My whole thing is trying to integrate using brushes more.
Oh, Elena, it's just my tiny elephant Pokemon. No need to show it in stream. You can if you want to, but you don't have to.
Any Pokemon?
Elephant Pokemon.
All right, let's see. Maybe something I should do is like, you don't necessarily have to paint alongside me, but as long as you're doing some kind of a study, it'd be good to see. Okay, let's pull up, like, look over the Cintiq. Dream follow. Oh, that's cute. Actually, I drew an elephant on a ball a long time ago for one of my college color theories. And this is cute. This kind of reminds me of that. Oh, it's cute. Hi, Felix. Let's see what you're able to do here. Ooh. And obviously I didn't watch you paint, but I can only assume that you didn't color pick from the reference. All the way up. Yeah, Felix, this is really good color picking. And it's funny, I can see you kind of using some of the techniques that I'm using now. I'm like, okay, I'm starting to understand this whole digital environment game. I'm starting to get it. I really like the glow that you have on the porch light. It's more subtle than the one I did. I think mine's more like blown out. I think yours actually feels like that lamp is turned on and it's lighting up that porch. Also, I can see some of the brush on the bottom. I can see why you felt like it wasn't working as well. I tried to use one where they were more like spread out because I think some of the brushes in that pack, they're too like tightly packed. And for this reference, I felt like it was more singular blades of grass. But yeah, overall, I'm definitely going to take the trick of painting the window inside first and then painting the beams or the lattices on top. So I'm gonna take that one with me. But overall, yeah, Felix, this is wonderful. I'm always impressed with what you're able to do without color picking because I think that stands a testament to your understanding and knowledge of color in general. Okay, so I guess I can zoom in a little bit here. This was my study for today. Oh, you know what? Something I like to do though. Copy the whole thing. Merge down. I'm going to throw a little noise filter on it just to add a bit of texture on it. You can see, let me show you before and after. See how it adds just a little extra more to it. I don't like to add a lot of noise, just enough where it adds a subtle texture. And I guess together, these are my Studio Ghibli studies. Very weird for me. I'm still learning. Very weird doing them live, especially because I don't feel like I know necessarily what I'm talking about half the time when it comes to this. But I think next week we're going to do another study, but we're also going to make it a color challenge. So I'm not going to color pick. I'm looking at you, Felix, and I'm going to try to challenge myself in that regard. And we'll do probably another sunny one in case I can't look at my glare of my Cintiq any longer. So if you have any suggestions for my Patreon people, let me know in the Discord because I might just use that reference pick. But otherwise, Josh, you have any last minute sayings before we head out?
No, it was just a really great stream. Great discussion today. Yeah, it was very good.
That was wonderful. And then I think Josh is going to separate streams in the future afterwards by just the process. So if you hover over the YouTube video, you can kind of tell what I'm painting at that time, rather than it being like specifically on different questions. But yeah, we're just gonna keep trying to improve these live streams and make them fun for you guys, as much fun as we're kind of having, or as much fun as we're having doing them. There we go. Okay. And then I guess last minute thing, I finished my latest tarot card, which was Temperance. We posted that last Friday. Patreon backers voted on the next one, so I just started working on Four of Wands, and I'm really excited because there's actually a lot of buildings in it. I'm going very Euro fantasy village vibe, and I asked Instagram to send me pictures of their hometowns, and I've gotten a lot of really good pictures of very fantasy looking buildings. So I'm going to try to really incorporate that into this image. And what else is new with us? Oh, you know what? We got the coins in. If you are interested in getting one of these sun and moon coins that I made 2 months ago, or was it 3 months ago? It was a Patreon exclusive, or not exclusive item. It was a Patreon gold tier reward item, and now it'll be on the shop on Friday. So we're going to be putting those up along with a few originals and I think 2 new prints. And yeah, besides that, Threads has been great. You can follow me on there as well. I'm going to be doing a giveaway drawing soon on there because I've been enjoying it so much. So look for that if you're on there. And yeah, besides that, have a good rest of your week. And I hope you enjoyed seeing me, push through another environment study today. Yeah, take care, everyone. And hopefully we'll see you next week. Bye. Bye, everyone.
Everybody.
Bye.